CEMTV wakes you up, goes through with you, welcomes you back home. It's all about you, for you. We break your day to the rising of the sun. We start you off on the positives with self-energized refilling. Hand in hand, toe to toe, in a soothing by and by. We go through your day, keeping you updated with developments around your world and your endeavors. You're better off with CEMTV. As your cheerleader, in your little winning steps, we've got your back when you're down. We lift your spirits and your sights beyond your limitations towards horizons of possibilities each day portends. With a pat on your back, we nudge you on to never think less of yourself. Go do your best, daily, leave the rest. At the end of each day, we urge you, do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on life. Anything is possible. You are going somewhere to happen one day. And when the day winds down, when you need a reliable arm of information and entertainment, welcome home to CEMTV. It's all about you.
The law is a system created and enforced by a government or society to regulate behavior, maintain order, protect rights, and resolve disputes. When in Nigeria you hear things like Falana, SAN, alleging that high persons like Ali Modu Sharif is a sponsor of Boko Haram publicly and challenging him to a legal suit with a question: why is it that before now the relevant authorities, especially from the time of Goodluck Jonathan, have not arrested that personality in line with our laws? You begin to wonder, are our laws effective? Do we really have them? Are they like dogs that are barking but without teeth to bite? You hear allegations against the chief of staff to the president, Bajaber Miller, as to being accused of demanding bribe from a fictitious, as has now been claimed, agency that did not exist. And yet the person behind it is boldly saying, if that agency did not exist, if the presidency did not know about it, how come their funding went into the budget, passed through the National Assembly? There's also the issue of the arrest of the TikTok star, Pella, for filming the security operatives and the allegation of obstruction of the police. And you ask, is it a crime to film a public servant doing their job? What does the law say? These and so many more we want to unravel on today's segment of News Surgery, because your knowledge is your power and you need to know. The more you understand what our laws say and you are guided legally, the better for us. And so we are looking at the law, we're looking at law enforcement, we're looking at the rule of law, and we're looking at impactful and effective political administration in Nigeria. Are some persons sacred cows? They touch not? Are some persons victims of the law by their status? We would unravel all that in this segment. So go nowhere. Tell someone to tell someone. You can follow us on all our social media handles. It's CEMTVPLUS on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Thread, and on YouTube. You can watch live CEMTVPLUS. You can also watch us on free-to-air Nigecomsat decoder, satellite and decoder, and the KU band. My name is M.I. This is how I welcome you to this segment of the Morning Pulse. But I'm not alone. We will dive into those topics after the news, the headline news from the dailies. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce them.
This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
Is it time? I can't wait to see it.
Voice of the people, stories that matter.
Oh wow!
Truth in every moment, now and forever. Across every border, across every land, we form, we empower, together we stand. From Africa to the world, connecting every voice.
What's on your mind today?
The goal by Victor Osimhen was amazing.
The economy. Isn't that what's on everybody's mind?
I would like to see more women in positions of authority. If you heard and saw it from CEMTV, you can take it to the bank. CEMTV, your reliable source of news, information, and entertainment.
It's a bright, beautiful morning. We're excited to take you to the front pages of the national dailies this morning. Of course, my name is Francis Oyimaide, and this is still CEMTV News Surgery. On the newspaper headline this morning, we're starting with the front page of the Punch newspaper. The screaming headline, 2027 elections, 6 legal hurdles before INEC. That's the headline. And there's a picture story of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu there. Door-to-door movement. Above the masthead, we see rising prices threatened Nigeria's poverty reduction gains. That's according to the IMF. Details are on page 22, and we see also still on page 12 of the Punch newspaper, constituency projects alert funding suspension throws reps into roady session. And those are the major stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. And that takes us to the next stop, The Guardian. On The Guardian, the screaming headline, legal distractions, intimidation, weaken opposition's 2027 contest. Details are on page 6. There's a picture story, of course, of the key contenders for the 2027 general elections, that of the President, Atiku Abubakar, His Excellency Peter Obi, among others, right there. Just above the masthead, we see reps in roady session over Tinubu's summon. Budget implementation delay. Details are on page 3. Tunji's men killed 5 abduct women in Sokoto. Okay, State Police, Lagos Assembly rallies states on speedy approval. Northern governors to meet. Page 4 has details of the story. PFIPC probe divides NAS as ADC. Atiku insists on independent inquiry. Page 6 has details. Senate 6 15-year jail term, asset forfeiture for fake drug dealers. Details are on page 2. I wish they can also do this for looters and people who steal public funds, which are far worse than drug dealers. Not making an excuse for them though. Moving away from that, Tinubu hails Benue's industrial growth as earlier commends federal government's reform. Details are on page 30. Circle Ventures invest in Flutter Waves at $3.25 billion valuation to accelerate cross-border payments. Ex-policemen reject PENCOM's option B to protest poor welfare. NANT names 43 institutions in Nelfund double tuition scandal. Interesting twist on the Nelfund scheme there, but we move away from The Guardian. And next up this morning will be the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. The screaming headline, PFIPC, I will give documents to DSS police. Adeyemi speaks. The writer told the story. NAS divided as reps probe fictitious 1.3 billion naira in session. Senate block fresh inquiry, and you can't be judge and jury in your case. Atiku flays Tinubu. Drowning government can't investigate itself. ADC speaks. Details are on page 14. And just above the mouse said, rising cost of essential to push more Nigerians into poverty, according to the IMF. Details are on page 19. Defense Minister to troops, shoot terrorists, don't wait for others. The details are on page 8, and those are the major stories we'll take on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Barrister Christian, take us through the rest.
And over African newspaper today, it says Dr. Segbefa louds Mohammed reforms in housing and water resources. Peace restored to Gomoa Fatin Kakraba. Above the masthead, you see court awards 6,731.39 acres of land to Royal Isel Amokwa Trading Family in landmark judgment. Still on African Today newspaper, Volta Regional Minister receives official invitation to 17th Mape Afnoto Festival Grand Durban. Still on it today, Yowa Overlord calls on Mahama to convene paramount chiefs for striker environmental laws. Bennett same newspaper, Supreme Court quashes Bulgatanga High Court charge with contempt of court against Bara Chief and Secretary to Tongram. And we'll have the last one here saying land dispute at Onomaba Cocoa Farm, Cocoa Board to deploy values to access farm and compensate rightful farmers. And we'll move over to the Daily Banner this morning on page 114. It says minority raises red flag over ages 350 million Ghana cedis flood fund directive. NLADG wasted public fund, and still have a team. Fonjua demands prosecutions of drug trafficking, governor's official. NPP set September 19 for election of national officers. Seal on the Daily Banner this morning. 2025 Auditor General report reveals as stakeholders call for his dismiss for wasting public funds. I wish you could execute this in some other part of the country. All right, moving on to Liberty paper this morning. The screaming headline saying Liberty Symposium convener Ramala backs Tinubu directive to probe global tech media firms over Nigeria content exploitation. Still on this Liberty paper, it says insecurity, nothing traditional rulers, Islamic scholars met in Kaduna today. And don't wait for other before shooting terrorists, defense minister to soldiers. I hope this happened and not just on paper though, but let's still move on Liberty paper this morning. More news coming up. It says a northern governor inaugurates security trust fund. Still on Liberty paper this morning, ACF crisis deepening as faction warns bank against tempting with 3.88 billion naira fund. I may not be alive to contest in 2027, Obi cries out. Senate probes Northwest Development Commission over 943 million naira board allowances. And that's all we have on the newspaper this morning. Over to you, Mr. MI.
Okay. The federal government, as headed by our current president Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has directed the setting up of a committee to plan the implementation of state policing, and then it has been headed by Bajabia Mila, also including stakeholders like security organizations and the MBA and the various states. And beyond that, they are also to work out modalities. And so right now they are holding a town hall where they are consulting, including a former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, so that we can draw some lessons. We have always been recommending here to say, look, we have partnership with Israel, the likes of Israel, the likes of America, and so on. And they are doing well in terms of internal and external security. They are envious, enviously at a height that should inspire us. So I'm happy that they invited someone like that. But there are questions we need to ask here. So to help us get into those issues, let me introduce our first guest on CEMTV News Surgery today. He is Professor Anthony Egobueze. Thank you, sir.
Associate Professor.
Associate Professor, okay, Associate Professor Anthony Egobueze. He is the head of Political Science Department, River State University, and with expertise in politics and governance. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you
So we asked the question, what is law and the rule of law and the enforcement of law? So from you also worked in the legislature. So from the political science point of view, what to you captures and reflects the law?
The law, thank you first for having me here.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I will continue to appreciate you people for doing a very good job, because reportage of information, especially news items around the globe, you know, is sine qua non for democratic sustainability. You know, and I have been asked what is law, and I want to say that the spirit of the law, which is the rule of law itself, you know, is one of the principal very cardinal ingredients of democracy. For you to say that there is democracy, there must be stiff adherence to law. The rule of law, therefore, becomes one of the pivotal instruments that democracy needs to fledge. Now, the principles of rule of law was introduced to the world in 1885 by a philosopher known as AVDC. And in his popular book, he clearly stated that the law is important because the law is rules that guide a society. So a society in this case is the Nigerian society, the Nigerian public. Now, Nigerian state, as it were, has articulated most of its laws first in the grand norm, which is known as our constitution. Currently, we practice we use the 1999 constitution as amended, and of course, if you want to trace the genealogy of a constitution, it takes us back to the constitutional development with the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914 down to you know, what we currently have now as a 1999 constitution. You know, so right from that time to date, there have been laws that have been put in place in the entity known as Nigeria. And why were these laws put in place? They were put in place to direct order in the society, or to guarantee lives and properties, or protect lives and properties. Because the life and properties of every individual is very important and inalienable to the society. You know, the state is very important ingredient that will protect and guarantee these processes. So the state has to put laws in place in order to direct order. And that's why, in fact, yesterday when I was teaching my postgraduate students, we looked at some issues, and part of what we looked at was the principle of rule of law, especially the fundamental human rights of citizens. And I told them I referred them to chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And when you go through chapter 4 of the Constitution, it outlines several issues like right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of movement, and several others, and all that you think of in liberty. So these are the frameworks that have been put in place in order to protect the people. And I have told my colleagues and friends everywhere that there can't be a state without the people, and there must be a people with the state. And there must be synergy between these two people, the state and the people. And that was why I wrote a book, The State and the People. And it's a classical that actually looks at governance generally. Governance, of the people, by the people, and for the people, which Abraham Lincoln in his classical again defined as democracy. So democracy, by his conceptualization, is very key for us to have as a people. So if we have a true democracy, we wouldn't be grappling with the issue of breakdown of rules and regulation, because order has been provided by the state, and the state is there to guarantee that order through the executive, through the legislature, through the judiciary. And these three organs of government are critical. They operate at the level of institutional interaction. And in fact, I had to work on this, and I'm proposing there's a perspective to scholarship which I'm trying to address, and it's a theory. Okay. And that is a theory of interpenetration of governmental powers. Now, I am saying in that theory that because Montesquieu had earlier stated that he introduced the theory of separation of power, and I have stated clearly that in modern governance, the theory of separation of power is no longer extremely visible. Okay. There are interactions that take place between the institutions of government. The executive is performing some legislative functions, the legislature is performing some executive functions, and the judiciary is also doing the same. So what do you call that relationship? Do we still have separation of power in modern governance? And the answer is no. Because I can't, of course you saw, when Trump came into power, he read out up to 100 executive orders. And these executive orders were instruments of law, which is supposed to be the preserve of the legislature. And of course, those things are there in America. Though I thank the judiciary.
And the legislator, they stood up him against certain that they found were excessive.
They vacated some of those executive orders. Okay. So of course, you also see in Rivers State here, during the administration of Yeso Wike as a governor, he read out some executive orders. Some of those executive orders were anti-democracy because they wanted to address the issue of protecting their party against other political parties. And of course, these things are things that we see affect democracy and governance. Now, based on that, I had to come up with the theory of interpenetration of governmental powers. Interpenetration means that government relations, there is interactions between the institutions of government, the legislature and the executive and judiciary. So each of them is no longer independent in its functions, but there is relationship that exists between them in the governance processes that we see take place around the world. It's not akin only to Nigeria, it's or globally what is practicable now. So you see legislature going into conflict management, which is the preserve of the executive and judiciary, especially because the judiciary has to manage conflict, as it were, and of course they do it through petitions. Petitions are sent to the legislature. The legislature will address these petitions, and of course they also will go through section the oversight functions. They take some issues that are not supposed to be lawmaking, as it were. Okay. So you also see that happen in the executive. You see the executive coming with executive orders, like I've mentioned, going to release people from jail. The chief, the head of the executive arm of government. They see a prerogative of mercies that the president, issued, and of course the governors will issue. And some of these people that are issued prerogative of mercy, they are criminals. Highly criminals, very high level criminals. But these are things that we are seeing. You see the judiciary again. You see the Supreme Court, like Supreme Court of Nigeria, their pronouncement have become very critical reference points of law. So whether the thing is right or wrong, because it has been pronounced by the Supreme Court, it becomes the final arbiter, and it becomes a reference point for law. So these things are, subjects that we need to critique.
Okay, so when you talk about this fine marriage, this fine synergy, as even the National Assembly has said, in trying to absolve itself of the public allegation that they are rubber stamped, and that's what they do each time the public try to attribute that adjective to any legislature, to say no, we need to work together for good governance. We are not rubber stamped. So does this correlation that is important, this marriage between the various arms of government, involve playing down on the law or bending the law to favor party over human rights, over the people's interests? Does it say, okay, because my party is in power, the chief executive is from my party, I'm not going to, where I'm supposed to criticize him, where I'm supposed to be very critical, where I'm supposed to stand on principles, I will say, no, let it slide?
Now, let me answer you. You see, when you look at governance, as it were now, I want to say clearly to everybody that is listening that we have, especially in developing polities like Nigeria, strong individuals rather than strong institutions. And because we have strong individuals rather than strong institutions, that is why you see what is happening.
Were we supposed to have strong individuals ahead of institutions?
Of course, no. Of course, if you look at Obama, when he visited Ghana, when he became president initially, he was supposed to come to Nigeria, but he refused to come to Nigeria. He went to Ghana because he said that in Africa we have strong institutions and strong individuals, and he saw a lot of strong individuals in Nigeria. And that, so that to him did not depict democracy.
So they refused to identify with us.
Yes, so it depicted autocracy. And we have a whole lot of autocrats in place in Nigeria. And that takes me to answering your question. So these autocrats or totalitarian leaders have, enveloped themselves in the cloak of their dictatorship. So they swing government into their favor. They swing government into their wishes, their whims and caprices. And that is what we're having in Nigeria today. And that's why you see failures of institutions, failures of policies, failures of governance, which is supposed to be given unto the people or transmitted to the people freely. I will take you to South Africa here now. If you go to South African judiciary, has been reckoned as one of the best in the world.
Why so?
Why so? South African judiciary believes in equality before the law. And that was why the South African judiciary was able to sentence the former president to jail. Can it happen in Nigeria? Or has it been able to happen in Nigeria? What we see is a failed institution, a gagged judicial institution that is manipulated strongly by the executive arm of government. You see the clampdown of opposition through the judiciary. You see victory through not through the ballot, but through the judiciary arm of government. And that I can give classical cases of people that have been products of judicial reviews and all that have brought them to power, grimly portraying corruption and denying the people their freedom of election.
Okay, Francis.
So I have a couple of questions, Rob, and I'm going to start from where you stopped, South Africa. The rule of law, the Constitution is what guides our engagement, and that is what the judiciary uses for the interpretation of the law. The same applications of laws, the same set of laws might be different from what we have in South Africa, but at the end of the day, we're talking about a valid document called the Constitution of a country that guides the activities of the judiciary and every other arm of government. Now we have South Africa on one hand, from your example, where the lawyers are able to follow through the laws irrespective of who is standing on trial. And then we have Nigeria, where the law seems to bend depending on who you are, who you know, what position you occupy in the society, and how deep your pocket goes. Would you say this is a problem of the Constitution or a problem of character on the part of members of the judiciary?
Let me answer
or
you.
Both?
Yes, let me answer you. Nigeria is the most legislated country in the world, one of the most legislated countries in the world. Why do I say so? Nigeria has a whole lot of laws.
True.
That have been put in place to safeguard democracy and protect lives and properties. Because if you see our Constitution, chapter 14, section 14 of our Constitution, section 14 of our Constitution guarantees or provides that the state shall protect lives and properties. Section 14 sub 2. Sub 2 of the Constitution. Yes. So it is very clear. And the judiciary arm of government is established in section 6 of the Constitution. So if you go to section 6, you see this judiciary copiously provided for. The system of court, the court system is in Nigeria is under this constitution guaranteed. Therefore, there shall be the following courts, listing from the lowest court, which is the High Court, because the magistracy is a subject of the state. So they take you to from the High Court to the which has concurrent jurisdiction with the State High Court, Federal High Court, Industrial Court, and customary court of appeal, customary court, and all of them have concurrent jurisdiction. And it takes you to the appellate court, which is appeal court, and the Supreme Court, which is the Alpha and Omega. Recall, during the judgment that was proposed, that was presented that enthroned Rotimi Amechi as governor, Castina Allah, who was the lead judge juris in that matter, told the world that, and the other parties, that if you are not satisfied, you can take your appeal to God. So he has clearly stated that he is the final. And what you have asked me is the issue of character, ethics. What is the ethical values that these people hold to uphold justice? Nigerian judiciary has been tempted as one of the most corrupt in the world. I beg to be challenged anywhere, because scholarship have established that even the ICPC has also claimed that most judges in Nigeria are corrupt. And okay, the ICPC, which is a body president set up to check corruption, I stated most judges are corrupt. How many have they brought to book? Because they are to look at the books, their books, and fish out public officers that are living above their means. ICPC.
You know, in our country, the law says nobody is above the law, be it the president, the Senate, the government, and we're speaking of judiciary being corrupt. The case of the advocate, you know, the advocate, or what's his name again, Oshowore, that the DSS official, all of that plunder on him, will he then say judiciary has been bought over? That's why they allowed the DSS official to pick that activist? Or if judiciary were to be functioning, will that has happened and the court of law?
Now, you see, I've told you, and I still maintain here, we have a system of strong individuals and strong institutions.
Even in the judiciary.
Even in the judiciary. Because the judiciary, as it were, are being influenced by the strong individuals in the society. You know, so you see a systemic failure where judgment is supposed to be written by a judge in his chamber. The judgment that has been written is sent to some strong individuals who will vet the judgment and direct otherwise before it is presented.
And the person is not even a judge.
Yes, when the person is not even a judge. So I take so many classical cases. Now, if you look at the River State emergency rule, and when you look at it critically, the whole questions about that led to the emergency rule from the defection of the lawmakers to APC and several others. When the matter of defection went to court, they wriggled out, they wrote the judgment in such a way where they brought in the local government election that was conducted, and the judiciary, the Supreme Court, annulled the local government election, which was not party to that conflict. So we are talking of issue of defection. You are bringing in
local government elections.
So you can see that there was directive, and directive from a
stronger personality,
yes, individuals. You know, so I saw one issue where the Chief Judge of Federation, Justice of the Federation, directed that the new judges not to accept gift and some.
We'll get to that.
Okay,
we'll get to that.
Okay.
So let's talk about effective public administration or political administration with impact, and then reflect on the creation of state police. We cannot have effective political and public administration without security. So finally, the president has directed that an implementation committee be set up, headed by Bajabi and Mila. What are some of those challenges that we should have learned and still learn from the federal police, why they failed, that we wouldn't want to be repeated in state police? Also bearing in mind the incapacitations or lack of resources by some states in Nigeria, where even the minimum wage has not been fully implemented in some states, where some state governors keep crying every time, where costs is put on them to say we don't have money, yet they have the potentials to make money. There are questions and issues of, is it only indigenes of that state that would be recruited and employed into the police system, remembering that by our constitution, if no matter the part of the country where you are and reside, you are naturally a citizen. So wouldn't that contradict itself? If I am from Akwa Ibom and I want to join the River State Police, and they say, no, you're not you're not, because I'm not a citizen or I'm not qualified. Wouldn't that amount to discrimination by states, which is not part of our constitution? So would that be need for amendment of our constitution so that to give exclusivity to say, okay, on the matter of state policing, this and that, and there are issues of welfare, there are issues of equipment and training, there are issues of corruption. So please talk to us, sir.
Now, I want to say that what the National Assembly has started through the passage of the police, the law that will establish state police, is a process. It is a training process. Training process because the Constitution of Nigeria has to be amended. And the amendment of the Constitution is not only the responsibility of the National Assembly. Of course, the matter has to go through two-thirds majority of state houses of assembly. And if you don't have a return from about 25 states of the Federation supporting the amendment that to the effect that state police should be established, that process will fail. I take you back to the ruling of Supreme Court on local government administration, especially local government autonomy. The issue of local government autonomy has remained failed for now because the Supreme Court did not envisage that this the Constitution has to be amended, because you have to amend section 162 of the Constitution, to the effect that local government finances should go directly to them, and you have also to amend several other sections, section 7 of the Constitution too.
Okay.
So these are challenges that we face as a people. And that takes me to what I have been advocating for over a period of time, that the office of the Attorney General of Federation should be separated from the office of the Attorney General of Federal Government. Attorney General of the Federation should be Attorney General for the Federation, which combines the federal government and the state government alone. So these are critical issues that we need for constitutional amendment. But back away from that, the issue of state police is very pivotal to me. In fact, I had made a presentation to the office of the Minister for Police Affairs sometime in 2024. I led a team to propose that police services should be restructured, and part of what I presented there was the issue of state police. State police, because I know the dangers that are associated with state police, which include absolute control by governors, which they will use to which haunt their political opponents, also to promote their political ambitions and interests. All those things will happen if we have it. But you ask yourself the question, what is the total number of police that we have at the federal level as we currently have? We have over about 337,000 police men. And what is the recommended ratio for policing, by the United Nations? One police to what number of persons? So we currently have shortfalls in that. And the federal government, because the governors are the chief executives of the state, and they are the chief security officers of the state, they need to work collaboratively with the police commissioners of their state. And we saw a system or a situation where we had again strong individuals in between 2013 and 2015, where in Rivers State here, the commissioner of police was larger than the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Rotimi Amechi. But there was a time Amechi could not pass certain roads in the order of the commissioner of...
as a governor?
Yes, as a governor. in the order of the Commissioner of Police, Joseph Mbu, then, of course, he was acting from
Federal.
Because he wasn't taking direct. In fact, when they go to security meetings, he didn't even attend some of the Security Council meetings. So these are so how can the governor now become the chief security officer when the Commissioner of Police, who is supposed to take directives from him, will take directives from Abuja? And that is what is going to happen in this electoral process that we see.
Well, Prof, I would love to ask, how do we prevent state government from turning state police into their personal aid and for political ambition, just like you see? Because instead of them doing what they were assigned to do, you see them being assigned to different politicians, guide this and guide that. Won't we come back to the same federal issue we're having of policing?
What we're, I'm interested in as a person, because I know even as we currently have the federal police, the federal police are being manipulated in favor of the ruling elites.
How so?
How sure? Of course, the commissioner of, how was Mbu manipulated against Mechi? Were you not in River State here when it happened?
But he didn't come out to say it. That's based on alleged. He didn't come out to say that's being manipulated. The Imbu, the then national police.
No, Amechi shouted, Amechi screamed, Amechi cried. What was he listening to? A major road, OGR road there, I think in Nesikoli.
Yeah. Nesikoli.
Yes. He blocked it. He saw that governor's convoy was coming. He blocked it. And nothing happened in this state. So these are the issues. So whether it is federal police or state police, we are still going to go back to the infractions that we see in the society. They are going to use them as political tools to witch hunt political opponents. But what is more important to me is the protection of lives and properties. If beyond their political opponents, they can protect, the state police will guarantee the protection of you and me that are not part of the governance
at all.
I'm satisfied.
Okay, but Prof, do you think there is a possibility of us as a country achieving any significant changes within the security architecture with state police? And I ask that because experts, and yourself as an expert within the industry, have stated clearly that we're going to have the same round of challenges we had
with the federal police.
Look at the federal police. Not properly funded. Welfare is nothing to write home about. The numbers are not sufficient enough to cater to the needs of Nigerians. And then before now, we saw a great percentage of police personnel serving as houseboys to politicians, carrying handbags and going to shops or going to markets, carrying food flags and doing all sorts of things that is not supposed to be done by a security official for politicians and politician children they were attached to before the order was given, which, by the way, you still see police serving as orderly, to people around the elite. But looking at what has been seen evidently clear with the federal police, do you think the states will do differently in terms of the welfare, in terms of ammunitions, in terms of providing a better work environment? In some police stations, you don't have electricity. You don't have proper tools to work with. So if we are replicating the same failed system, the same failed structure, without the commitment to proper funding, proper welfare, are we not heading back to the same route that we have in Nigeria currently?
I will answer you by saying that there is a systemic failure. And the systemic failure that we have, as it currently is going to have a bandwagon effect. It's going to be a reflection of what we are going to see in the state police. Now, civil servants in the states, in some of the states, are owed salaries. if you go to so many institutions, state institutions, they are either erring or collapse. So attracting a new body of state police is going to affect most of the states because they will not be able to even cater for them. But that's by the way. You know, I reckon with what you have said, and I also align with your thoughts, because most of what we see is the police structure in Nigeria, especially those that guard politicians, are advanced houseboys. I had to one day, there was then Ada George Road was not big enough, it wasn't large enough. Before Amechi came into power, it was very narrow. There was serious traffic, and I was going, and one policeman was leading one police truck was leading one person. I saw two girls and one man inside the jeep, and he was leading them, and he was challenging traffic, and we had stayed in the traffic for over 3 hours. So the only single line
for civilians,
yes, for civilians, the only single space that we had to pass, where I was called, my car was called to move, progress. I started, and he came. They wanted to bully me, and I told him, sorry, no, I won't go back. And I stayed put on that road. Who was he carrying? Was he a government official, so to say? Even if it was a government official, was he not supposed to be on the queue? So these are the issues. So they would, as it were, I made a recommendation to Nigerian police, Minister of Police Affairs. And what was the recommendation I made to the Minister of Police Affairs? I told him one of them was that they should set up a special squad for the VVIPs. And this special squad they're setting up for the VVIPs should be fed. In fact, this VVIP should pay expensively for one of the policemen, each policeman they take. So let us assume one of them has ordered about 10 police personnel in his house or under his security to secure him. Each of those one, for each person there, they could charge him 100,000 or 200,000
a month.
So for the 10, they will charge the 10 2 million for the month, and he will pay to a dedicated account, which is supposed to be run and managed by the Nigerian police force. So with that money, they can use to take care of the other staff that are there. It was a very clear. In fact, when I made that, it was applause. Yeah.
But
implementation, because we shouldn't pretend about it. The VIPs, they obviously need security. No, they do not have enough private security as you have in some civilized climes.
Yes, that's why that was why I made that recommendation, because I underscore the fact that the VVIPs need security, and of course, for you to have, you should pay expensively for them.
For it's a service,
and most importantly, treat them well.
Yes, so because when you pay, they are conditioned precedent, because there will be code of conduct.
I hear you.
That will be designed for the management of these officers that have been sent to them. So these are the things. But the question is, Nigerian state is a recalcitrant one that does not obey orders or does not take recommendations to work. You see, I have right told you that the Nigerian state has been over-legislated. And that is the current quagmire that we have as a people.
Okay, so a double-barrel question before MI comes back. In South Africa, it is stated that they have over 600,000 active registered officers for private securities, literally outnumbering the national state police, which means bulk of the responsibility of handling issues surrounding security are in the hands of private security operators. But in Nigeria, I think it was 2024, 2025, under the Tinubu's administration, when he was taking some things out from the exclusive list and putting it on the concurrent list after the electricity bill, that the issue of private security came up, and some people celebrated that if the president of Nigeria is able to get it done to allow for private security outfits. We have a few of them, but we are not as prominent and predominant as we see in other countries of the world. Do you think that if we as a country can normalize and give grounds for the proliferation of professionals within the security architecture in the private sector, we'll have a transformation?
Yeah, you'll see the transformation come to bear. Why do I say so? Now, for them to set up the private security outfit, there will be conditions that have been put in place.
True.
And they will say you must meet up to the following threshold
Before
you are enlisted into the system. Well, I know, yes, the corruption will still fight its way into the system, but the level of infiltration of corruption may be minimal. I know that almost in most of the homes we have, most of the streets that we have currently in Port Harcourt, you see some private security personnel that are working in those homes. And have you taken time to look at the work ethics of these private securities? Some of them are not prone to the beg attitude of the Nigerian police.
True.
They try to be professional in their responsibility, and that is what we pray for should happen to us as a people.
Prof, I would still love to ask a question. Between state policing and federal policing, do you think the state police will come up with a better reform since there are policies put in place for us to have state police? Do you think they'll come with a better reform to outdo, not competing with the federal police? Or at the end of the day, it will be the same facade that we see federal police on the highway begging, state police on the highway begging? Is it just bringing them for chaotic sake, or those people are really going to work? And before bringing state policing, I was thinking there's going to be a proper reform in the police system to start with before introducing this, because if you don't, it's going to be corrupted at the end of the day. My thoughts, though.
Yeah, you are right. I don't see what you see at the federal level is going to be a similitude of what you're going to see at the state level. It's like an old wine put into
a new bottle,
and that's what we are going to see. I wouldn't say clearly that there's going to be a difference between what we currently see and what we're going to see in the near future, because the state institutions have to be reformed. If we don't restructure the state institutions to bring them to compete favorably with what we have in other climes, we are going to have those state challenges that we currently have. I bet to say anywhere, state it anywhere I can, that Nigeria is not ready as a state to reform its institutions. Because if Nigeria is ready to reform its institutions, then the monster of corruption would have hesitated.
Is it the ruling class or we, the people?
It's a.
I am ready.
Yes,
I'm ready too.
It's a.
I'm ready. I want change.
I'm not in power.
Wait.
I don't disburse our funds, our taxes.
Wait, it's a
They don't
two-way
even
traffic.
manage our resources.
It's a two-way traffic.
Okay.
It's a two-way traffic. You are saying you are ready. Have you protested?
I'm protesting with my votes. I'm protesting
Yes.
as a journalist. Whenever I have to share my thoughts, I advance values and norm and
have
standards.
walked into the streets to say no. Now look at that Adeyemi and the Gbajabiamila saga. How many Nigerians have come in their numbers to the street to ask for Gbajabiamila to step aside first while investigation take place? So these are part of the this readiness.
Okay, before I take you to let me take you through. My colleague asked about welfare, because I must say this as a matter of fact, universal fact. The summary of all we are doing is daily bread. everybody likes money because money helps to solve problems, challenge our need, wants, and demand. From President Obama to President Tinubu to the last person, everybody wants money. And that's why in civilized countries, when people who understand public administration, they build assets and take what they call social welfare. They take care of the workers, they take care of the citizens. Now, there is we have a challenge of the ratio of police officers to the ratio of citizens that we have. By United Nations standard, the benchmark varies between 222 to about 300 per 100,000 citizens. And basically, it is to ensure enforcement of law, protection, and safety. But in Nigeria's case, it's about 1 to over 2,000 in a population of about 240. But they also say that it depends on each particular country's security needs and challenge. So in countries like India, they have about 158 per 100,000, which is below the mark. In Kenya, you have about 1 to 512. In US, you have 1 police officer to 352. In South Africa, 1 police officer to about 350, which is very high. France, 1 police officer to 294, which is excellent. Okay. When they come to state policing, the challenge would be, are they going to also recruit the adequate hands to tackle the various peculiar challenges we have from the city to the rural, from the urban centers to the rural areas? And would they decide to pay? If I were to be Mr. President, I will call my all my governors. I will call all my legislators from the federal to the last level. I will call all my all heads of ministries and I'll tell them the truth. If you don't work out money to take care of your staff, they will steal. So they pretend about it. Are they going to employ again and then give them peanuts, forgetting that as you are living in a comfortable house called Aso Rock or government house, that's your gate man, your security man, the police officer I want to recruit also needs housing. At least after 1 year or 2, he needs to live in a comfortable house. He also needs mobility, like the way you enjoy bulletproof cars bought by state money. The way you have cooks, that's your security man also needs it. Every good, the way you travel for holidays, you enjoy good care. The children of your police officer. If you don't do that, and that's why sometimes when we criticize the police officers collecting, but they will tell you outrightly, now you they pay my paying school fee. You understand? They say go and call IG, make it come. You understand? Because they will tell you, call it allegation, that they take care of their uniforms, they take care of their bullets, they take care of their police divisions and so on. So, what are you going to tell governors and states to understand about human resource management for effective public administration?
Let me answer you. What is the minimum wage?
70,000 naira, and they're asking for more now.
Yeah, 70,000 naira. That's the minimum wage for Nigeria. Are you sure they're going to pay the least recruit more than 70,000?
They should.
No,
it should be an offense.
No,
because by law now, the minimum wage, which is the law.
It's a rhetorical question I'm asking. Are you sure they're going to pay him more than 70,000 naira? Let us assume they pay him 200,000 naira.
Yeah.
Is 200,000 naira a living wage in Nigeria today?
By minimum wage. We should be working by living wage, not minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Not a living wage. You know, so you find a system where there is not going to be any police officer that is paid up to the least police officer paid up to 200,000 naira. And so, how would that boy or that young recruit manage 200,000 naira in the current Nigeria state?
The economy.
Yes. So he's going to drift into corruption.
Same old federal policy.
Same old federal endemic problem that we have. You know, so it's like I mentioned earlier as we started, it's an old one put into a new wine skin, and there is not going to be any change.
Still on that, from what MI was asking, you know, I grew up in old Port Harcourt town, and I know a lot of barracks. So going to police barracks, if you see where they live, these people you call security personnel, oh, you will cry. You will cry. The people guarding lives and property are not even protected. Police barrack is the same place where people will come steal generator.
Yes.
Police office is where they have to tie their generator with chain. This is Nigeria and our reality. Who is protecting who? What are the modalities put in place, check and balance, for state policing when it comes to infrastructure, welfare, health? Do they even have health insurance? You see, police officers' wife, when they are pregnant, they'll be borrowing money just to feed. Is that the same thing we want to replicate when it comes to state policing? Or it's just an avenue to cover hard-earned money for some greedy politicians?
Now, I will answer you clearly. I've mentioned, and I'll still maintain here, there is just no difference with the old order. What this has designed is a conduit for governors to take money out of the purse and enrich their pockets and the pockets of their cronies. That is the shape it's going to take. You know, so you see a governor who will now say that because of this state police structure that we need now, the budget for this year, if they work on the medium-term expenditure framework, and then they come up with the budget itself, that the budget for this in this fiscal year, we are both voting about 350 million or 500 million to the state police. Now, let me take you some states in the north. You know, their budget is not up to 500 million, a billion. Now, yes, no, they're not. Many of the states are not doing well in Nigeria, because if you allow them to actually,
is it because they lack the resources,
no,
or the know-how to convert resources to assets?
They have failed to know how to convert resources to assets, because I have said that there's no state that cannot be independent financially. The challenge we have is people have not been able to think and work with the institutions of the state in order to appropriate wealth, to create wealth for the state or the people. Now, if you take time and watch Singapore is not a producing nation, but Singapore is a service nation. And several states around the world, or countries around the world, are service nations. So if you are not producing, or if you don't have the natural resources, you must be able to have services that you are known for. And with the budget that you have had, or the money that have come your way, you could create that safeguard. Now, I heard the other day that Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is trying to make Aba one of the hubs in Africa that will be hosting the World Trade Organization. Why has she decided to use Aba for that? World Trade Organization, the first of its kind in Africa. Why has she?
Of its commercial nature.
Yes, because of Aba's commercial nature. And look at what the governor has done in terms of electricity. So these are the visions.
Thank you very much, sir.
We need.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll be speaking with Associate Professor Anthony Egogbueze. He is the head of Political Science Department, Rivers State University, and expert in politics and governance. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you. When we come back, we're also going to have a lawyer. We'll look at the legal aspects of the several issues that we ran down this morning. Please stay tuned.